Hey everyone, good morning. Today I want to chat about photos. I am getting these topics, by the way, from all of you. A lot of you requested for us to talk about photos. Actually, in the beginning of the year, you requested to talk about bookkeeping, Amazon, advertising on these platforms, and we've actually covered all those topics, and I want to chat about photos. Photos is always a popular topic to chat about, obviously because we're an online business, and it's super helpful to have fantastic photos. And so I'm going to go over several different things. I'm going to go over the whole white background versus styled background type of debate. All right, which one is best to use? Next, we'll go over what's the best camera to use for your photos, the best lighting equipment, and the best photo editing programs. I'm also going to give you a few tips, some of my best tips to help you take some great photos, okay? All right, so let's talk about the white background versus styled background debate, okay? Which is pretty much, people always hear that white backgrounds are better, right? You've heard that before. And, you know, you're always going back and forth between which is better. And you might have even changed your photos because of the advice you heard, okay? But I'm here to finally set the record straight. I'm beginning with this part because it has a lot to do with one of my 3 tips, which is background and props. But it's certainly a debate that people like to discuss. And it can really throw you for a loop because you're working really hard to get your photos done. When you find out that you should only do white or vice versa, you're really upset because it doesn't take you seconds to take a photo, right? And of course, editing and all that stuff, it's not always going to work out perfectly. So white background versus styled. Which one is better? Okay. I think you guys could kind of tell where this was going. Maybe not. But we're going to discuss it even further. So I'm not going to leave you with a big, it depends. And then move on. No, we're going to actually talk about what it depends on. Okay, so there will be some definitive answers here. So yes, the answer is depends. Okay, a few things it depends on. One of the biggest things, by the way, is what you sell. Okay, your market, what you sell. And so let me give you examples. Okay, so it depends on what you sell, meaning if your brand, your branding does better with the white clean backgrounds, then absolutely go with the white background. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't still have props in it. I have a white background with some props in it, just FYI. So I kind of have a little bit of both, but it depends on your market. Now, again, you can still do white background if I suggest styled, but sometimes you want to ask which is better, right? So this is what I'm trying to answer. If you have products that require people to see how it looks when they're using it in their own life, then styled is better. Okay, because it inspires them, and without it even saying so in the picture, because you also don't have text in the picture, it implies it. It implies that this is how your life will be like if you buy this item. And a few examples are jewelry. Okay, having it on, absolutely a really great way to sell it. Not necessary, right? Because a lot of people are very successful without it, but that's just an idea. And even having it in a styled background without somebody wearing it is ideal because it's within context. Okay, the styled background is not just me putting a whole bunch of stuff together and taking a picture of, you know, this pen I'm selling. No, it is to make sure it's in context, right? Another idea is clothing. Okay, again, it doesn't have to be in a model, but having a styled background could absolutely make sense for this type of item. Okay, so again, it depends on what you sell, and again, your branding. All right, it also could depend on where you're using the photo. So this is the third part of this. So for example, if you're using it on Amazon, depending on a few different things, it prefers a neutral background, maybe not white, but a neutral. Okay, and really not to confuse the customer as to what's included. All right. If you're using it for social media, okay, a styled one usually works best unless there's a big push on your branding to have very neutral or let's say solid color background. I've seen people do successfully, it's fine. But more than likely, a styled photo is better on social media. Okay. If you're selling on certain platforms, like I said, Amazon prefers it. Not 100% necessary, but prefers it. But you certainly don't want to put props in there that may confuse the customer. Okay, good morning. Phyllis says pillows. I'm not sure if Phyllis is asking, what should I do with pillows? Pillows, I believe, it will depend on the branding. So is it better for Phyllis to put her pillows on a white background, or is it better to put it in a styled? I think it could work either way. The question I would be asking for Phyllis is, with her pillows, what is your branding like? Describe your branding. And if I feel like it leans more toward the white background route, absolutely. However, you can never go wrong, in Phyllis's case for pillows, to do a styled one. You want to put it in a styled situation because I think that's always going to work no matter what. Obviously, doing white background makes it so much easier for Phyllis, but the styled background would, in my opinion, would be simply on a couch in a living room. Now, not just anybody's living room, okay? If you have some dingy couches hanging around, which sometimes we all do, absolutely not, right? You're more than welcome to use yours if you have a beautiful living room setup that matches your branding. If your friends does, more than welcome to take your pictures over there if she approves it. You see what I'm saying? So for that, I'd recommend putting it in context. When I say context, guys, just in case you don't know what that means, putting it where it belongs, okay? So people understand how it's going to look in their lives. Karen, when my candles are white, I hate putting them on a white background. It feels like it washes them out. I'm going to go over a few tips for Karen toward the end because she might say, I like white background, but it doesn't work with my color of the product. So we're going to go over that, okay? So just hang tight, Karen, okay? Because I may not have all the answers today. You might tell me, Dahlia, what about this? And again, it depends on your branding as well as depend on what your background would be. But I'm going to give you kind of like an exercise toward the end of this Facebook Live that will help you determine what your background should be. This is a foolproof method, foolproof, okay? Knit and crochet brooches. I would recommend, brooches are the things you put on your, here. First, again, it would depend on your branding because for me, I felt like knit and crochet brooches feel very bohemian. I could be wrong. If that is your branding, that would definitely not go with the white background. So again, for you, it would depend on your branding. However, if you're not a white background type of gal, neither is your branding, it would have to be a styled one. And for me, it would literally be an outfit that works really well with this brooch or knit brooches or whatever, but doesn't compete for attention. So the photo, if you have the brooch right over here, it would literally be a zoomed in photo of maybe part of my neck because the neckline is very like attractive. Maybe not mine, but in general. So it would be a photo like not showing my face, but of this maybe, okay? And kind of zoomed in. Again, the article clothing has to work well with the brooch, doesn't compete for attention, okay? Morning, Dahlia. I don't use a model for earring photography as a few people have mentioned that they wouldn't buy if they saw the earring on a model. But it's difficult to show the design scale of the earrings. Do you have any tips, please? First of all, I would not assume, me personally, that the earring I'm receiving is the one on the model, unless it's a one-of-a-kind item. Then I completely understand. And don't do it on a model, okay? And Brenda is saying, okay, what other tips do you have if I don't want to do a model because either customers don't like it, I don't have the, I can't do it. I'm going to go ahead and piggyback on what I told Karen. I'm going to have a few tips for you toward the end, not toward the end, but a little bit, how to decide the perfect, foolproof way to figure out how you should be taking your photos, period. And of course, your couch setting, it could be bright and white, it's fine. If it makes sense, okay? So let's move on. So we talked about white background versus styled, all right? Again, it will depend on your branding first, okay? It'll depend on your market, what type of products you're selling. Okay, sometimes this absolutely makes sense on a more simpler background. And not just a type of market, but the actual product itself. If it's a patterned phone case, I mean, it just makes sense on a white background, in my opinion, okay? And last but not least, depends on where you're using your photo. Now, what are the best cameras to use for photos? I posted a few blog posts, so you're more than welcome to check it out to see several links of the things that I use. I think I post my lighting equipment, my camera, and editing programs in that link, but I'm still going to talk to you about it here. Okay, what is the best camera to use for your phones? Okay, the best camera to use for your phones is the one you have. And here's why, right? Simple answer, which is awesome, right? Because a lot of the cameras nowadays do very well with taking photos, along with, which we'll talk about in a little bit, an editing program, okay? So if you have an iPhone, if you have one of these guys, okay, Android, by the way, more than likely you might have to clean your camera, okay? It might be like dusty or whatever, but more than likely you probably take a picture, a really good picture with any camera you have. Now, most cameras, especially Androids and iPhones, they have some settings that you can play around with. Don't play too much with the colors, right? Because you want to make sure it's true to color, but to make sure that it takes a really, really great picture. If you're taking things that have a lot of detail that you're zooming into, all cameras should have a macro setting. Then you can zoom in and you can take some really great detail, especially if you have to take some additional shots for details, okay? By the way, I have a blog post that shows you ideas you should consider if you have to fill up your Etsy listings, or you can use this for any type of platform. What additional photo ideas you should be listing. So besides just having your product, what other photos you should be putting in. So that's a great link to check out later. So any camera you have on hand is simple. The idea here is learning how to use it. Okay, I'll refer to this probably often in my lifetime teaching you guys as well as probably in this Facebook Live. Don't hesitate to learn more about your camera phone or your camera, whatever you have. Here's one. Right there is my camera I'm recording on, my vlogging camera. I have several cameras, obviously. But if you want to learn more about how to use this properly, there are manuals online. But manuals are boring. But if you want to go to them, you can. For your iPhone, for anything. I'd highly recommend going to YouTube. Okay? That is such a fantastic place to learn how to use things. Okay? Especially equipment. Okay? So it's important that you go on there and type in how to take really great pictures with my Samsung S7 or with my Android phone. How to take really great pictures with my Canon Rebel T3. Play around with the keywords you're using to find a really great video and heavily look into it. Now, sometimes the answers are not going to be, hey, do this and that setting and boom. It's just not going to work because everybody has different types of products, everybody has different types of lighting situations, etc. You have to learn, and you might say, Dalia, that's going to take me a while. I don't got time for that. Don't be lazy. I'm not calling you lazy. I know that we have a lot on our plate, but there's no, in certain things, there's no real shortcuts. If you find real shortcuts, you're going to find that later it's going to screw with you, okay, because you don't know how to properly use the camera. Okay, in our business, we have to properly learn how to use a camera, especially if you're taking the pictures. Okay, I know how to properly use the camera, but I also have a photographer. I have both at my disposal. Okay, but you have to. If you're like that, I have no time. Instead of tonight, watching reruns of The Voice, okay, go ahead and go on YouTube on your phone, so the rest of your family are doing it, and view at least a couple of videos to teach you, okay? Because we're entrepreneurs, the hustle is real. We have to sometimes work when we don't have to, when we don't want to, and learn these things on our own, okay? We don't have the funds to sometimes hire outside or the funds to, hire somebody to teach us all this stuff. You got it? So you have to learn on your own. YouTube is absolutely the best place to learn. Find your camera that you have on hand. You don't have to buy a new one, okay? Learn how to use it from YouTube. Just some basics, okay? And of course, the rest I'm going to go over regarding lighting and regarding photo editing, which we'll go over in just a second. But that's the second step here, okay? Learn how to use the camera you have on hand. Now, if you want me to make an actual recommendation of a camera, there's quite a few you could use out there. Here's the thing. I do love this camera. I do. I used it in which, by the way, I think, I have to see. I think it might be this Friday's vlog or next Friday's vlog. You're going to see, I think, a photo shoot of me taking my husband's real estate photos in this camera. I use this because of the depth of field that it provides, meaning the subject is in focus and the background's out of focus. I really like that for his photos. So you're going to see a little photo shoot session on my vlog. But I use this, I bought this a long time ago. The resale value is actually pretty high, but I have no interest in getting rid of it because for certain photos, it could do really great things. This is my vlogging camera, okay? You've probably seen it in my vlog. Well, actually, you can't see it in my vlog, but this is what I use. This is a very, very pricey camera, probably just as pricey as the DSLRs. That's a Canon G7X. It's around $700, okay? And obviously, I use it for work. I use it for vlogging, which is technically part of my job. That's why I bought the camera. But it certainly has some really great features, and it's more compact. So if you're going to go for a higher price camera, because you can afford to and you want to, and maybe a few other things. Maybe your phone is so dirt old that it doesn't cut it, okay? You don't have to get the Canon G7X, okay? There's other models that do just as well. I do it for vlogging because it does really great in low light situations where there's not a lot of light in the room. It brightens my face, but it has a lot of features on it that could be really helpful. And so does this one, okay? My Canon T3. However, I'd probably recommend a compact camera like the Canon G7X. I recommend it because it is compact. And not only can you use it for product photography, you could use it when you go out with your family, recording your shenanigans. You could, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's multi-use, not just for work. You could use it for personal reasons. For me, I vlog with it. And so it feels personal, but it's actually for work. So I vlog for work, but I love vlogging, so it's kind of personal. And of course, when I vlog, a lot of personal things happen in there. If I want to go out on a trip, which you've seen my vlog, I'm able to take my camera with me, no problem. I don't want to lug this thing around. And sometimes some of these cameras, depending on which one you buy, don't have autofocus when you're videoing. This is a problem. So if you want to buy a camera and you want to get the most out of your money, which I absolutely love in many different aspects of my life, not just work stuff, everything, okay? Kids' clothing, you name it. then go for the more compact camera if you want to buy a camera. But don't let this Facebook Live persuade you when you saw all those cool gadgets and saying, oh, I'm going to spend some money on the camera. Relax yourself, okay? Use the camera you have. I highly recommend not getting it unless you find there's a really good reason to. Again, your phone camera doesn't work really well, like it really is an old model. You know, maybe you do want to document your life as well. Your outings with your family, I don't know, then it's fine, then certainly. But camera phones nowadays can do all that. I like this one for documenting my family's life because it forces me to take the stuff out of the memory card and put it in the computer and put it on YouTube. Here, it's like this, you know, cave of doom. Like everything I put in here, like almost literally never comes out of it until the memory is full. And then I have to upload it into the whole thing. So, and sure, you can sync it to cloud storage, etc., but that's my preference, okay? So, I saw a couple of comments here. I bought a really pricey Nikon DSLR, and after less than 1 year, it stopped autofocusing. What? Back to using my iPhone. That's kind of weird. I have no idea why I would do that. I don't have Nikon, so I don't understand. I like the photos better. Never could get the camera to do what I wanted to. Yeah, I mean, don't try to go to the fancy route. With the fancy route, regardless of what camera you get, you're going to have to learn about it and use it properly. And if you don't have time, then don't bother. And the reality is, a lot of our phones, I'm assuming a lot of us have updated phones. I'm only assuming because of how phones have changed nowadays, and you can sometimes even get free phones when you get a plan. They really do a great job, especially for what we want to do. Now, I wouldn't vlog with this camera. It's not, in my opinion, great quality for vlogging. Okay, that's why I got the other camera. My hubby has to go pro, and it's actually amazeballs when it comes to photos. Yes, I thought it was just good for videos, but I use it for everything. Yeah, I mean, certainly the quality, depending on what you use the photos for, can differ between a phone and these two guys, absolutely. But what we use it for, more than likely, you probably don't need it, okay? All right, let's move on. So we talked about the best camera to use for your photos. If you just signed on and you missed it, it's the camera you have. Always the camera you have. A lot of the phones that we have can absolutely take great photos, especially with a little tweaking after they take the photo. It can take great photos for us as long as you learn how to use your camera on your phone. There's a lot of settings you probably are not aware of. So make sure you go ahead and check those out. If you're interested in buying something a little bit more pricier, I think the Nikons are great. I don't know too much about them, but I've heard they are. I personally have the Canon Rebel T3, but I don't recommend this one if you want to buy a more pricey camera. I recommend, it doesn't have to be Canon G7X because these are really pricey, but I recommend a more compact camera. This one does well in low light settings, and that's what I really wanted. Literally, it could be really dark in my house, and then I could put the camera on me, and it's fine. Obviously, it's really compact, and it has a really lot of great features that I wanted. You don't have to get this type of compact. You get a different one, but that would work really well for your product photos and make it multi-use. If you want to use it for other reasons, then make sure it has those features for you, okay? Let's move on to the next one. Best lighting equipment to use for your product photos is natural light. Okay, that's a no-brainer, right? I feel like you guys probably knew the answer to that. However, there's going to be issues with this. Let's talk about natural light first. Natural light coming from the window, okay, usually comes from one side, unless you have an amazing place that has windows from every angle. Just throwing it out there. But more than likely, you probably have it 1 to 2 sides, okay? That will create some shadow on one of the sides. It's not really flattering. So imagine you're taking a picture of this mug, okay? And right now, as I'm standing here, the window's right in front of me. It's facing like the light's coming at my face, okay? So I'm taking this picture. The lighting will be here. Now, that won't matter, right, if I'm taking a picture from here. I don't care about the back being lit that much, okay? However, some of the photos you're taking have to be done from eagle eye, right, from the top. And maybe not the mug. So if you have a photo you're taking from above, which let's say you're taking a picture of, imagine this is stationary, okay? You have to make sure there's lighting from all angles, otherwise it'd be like a really weird, dark situation happening, okay? So when you place it flat on, in my case, the white background, and you have lighting, right? So imagine I'm doing it flat and have lighting coming from this way. There's going to be light on this side, not on this side, okay? So what do you do when you're using natural light and there's not, windows on all 4 sides, okay? What you can simply do, there's a couple things you could do. I usually take a picture of me personally on a whiteboard because I use a white background, okay? Even if you don't use a whiteboard background, use something else, maybe colored, maybe a fake wood-looking background. I don't know. You can still buy a whiteboard. Okay, I have a white envelope. Let's imagine this is a whiteboard, and this is my envelope sitting on the bottom of the background, and the lighting is coming from this way. I could put this whiteboard behind the product where there's no light, because there's no light coming from this side, right? It will bounce light off, and if you adjust it, with the light shining directly, right? Not like direct light, by the way. I mean, like the sun is like, right now it's actually cloudy outside, which is kind of perfect because there's no direct light. It could bounce really nice light, okay? If you don't have a whiteboard, I've heard foil works, okay? So you might say, that this is really annoying. I have to kind of hold it, take a picture. You kind of have to set up your own little mock situation and test it out. So if you have it on this side, you might have to have another whiteboard hanging out here, okay? Because you have to have it on all sides. Or you could take a whiteboard. I'm folding this. Imagine you had a whiteboard. There's a crease here. You see it? That folded. So now you have, here's my product. I have it bouncing light off of this side, and then the light coming from the window will take care of the front side. Okay? I hope this kind of visual helps you a little bit understand how to use your natural light and so that it's even all the way around. Kind of, sort of. Does anybody have any questions about that? So let's make sure you guys understand. We'll still go over a couple other lighting equipment you could use. And it's almost like going to be gradual in steps, meaning this is one of the simplest ways. You should definitely start out with it. Some whiteboard, some whiteboard next to a window, done. And literally, it's actually one of the best things to use. Okay? Now, some people don't have access to natural light for whatever reason. Maybe, I don't know. I can't imagine why they can't just go next to their kitchen and take a picture. Certainly, my office is not set up next to a kitchen, but if I had to take a picture, I'll do it. I'll take like half a day's worth of time, which I used to. I don't take my own photos anymore, but I used to. And I would go to town on it, okay? Now, if it's a cloudy day like this, you can step outside completely and not have to worry about some whiteboard, reflecting light, okay? You could just go directly into the outside light, okay? Indirect light using this little trick, right, with whiteboard or foil. I think foil works, that's what I heard. Or go directly outside if it's like cloudy right now, and you're able to take great photos without having to use a whiteboard, all right? But if you actually have no access to direct light, and I can't imagine why, or if you live in a place that is always dark, I don't know, then there are other options you could use. Somebody posted in this group not too long ago. It is a light box from Amazon, and I heard really great things about it. It's a little pricey, but it's portable and it's collapsible. This I've heard a lot of great things about. I have several members who have this, and some of them I personally know because I chat with them, and they absolutely love it, okay? But do your own research. It's a portable one, but if you have items that don't fit in that box, or you don't want a white background, that's probably not right for you. But what it does is it brings light. It makes light for you. I mean, it's almost like having a light fixture, but in a much more smarter way because it doesn't have direct light. I also heard that when using this, you still may have to edit the photo slightly afterward, which we're going to talk about next, about photo editing program. But if you wanted a portable one, do your research. That's the one I recommend only because of other members who told me about it. That is what I recommend to use. Otherwise, guys, go the basic route. Go the route of making it on your own. Now, if you've done it on your own and you take shitty photos, it doesn't mean you should buy a portable photo studio. Depending on your photo, it may not make it look better. It may be you, okay? And we're going to talk about tips to help you in just a moment, okay? Because you may not just be a good photographer. Maybe you just suck at it. But I'm going to first go over the best photo editing programs you could use to take your photo that you took outdoors that looks kind of like, meh, to make it much better. And really, guys, I'm giving you all these tips. You have to actually go out there and do the work. If you want to learn how to use your camera phone the best, you have to check YouTube for it. If you want to get better lighting, then go out there and do the work. And this also applies to photo editing programs. I'm not going to teach you all the steps on how to photo edit your photos here, but I'm going to give you kind of some pointers, okay? But again, don't expect that if you buy this portable photo studio, things are going to improve dramatically if you don't know how to take a good photo in general, such as composition, such as really great background and props and things like that, okay? For the part we're talking about best lighting equipment to use, I feel like that was really straightforward. It's the makeshift one, using natural lighting, and or getting a portable type of studio. You could get one that doesn't have light attached to it, but then you have to have your own light source, okay? And if you have your own light source, you probably don't need to buy one. I've seen ones, which I have, that if you have your own light source, it just has like this translucent white around it. That certainly will help block out direct light if you have a lot of direct light. But if in that case, I would just go directly to one that has light. So you could just have it all in one package to make sure that the light is even. So let's move on. Best photo editing programs to use. One by far I highly, highly recommend, it's not for free obviously, but with a subscription monthly, it could be a really great thing, is Photoshop. I use it myself, okay? If you're a professional, you're probably not even watching this, but if you're professional, most professionals prefer Lightroom. I use Lightroom as well for certain projects, but most of the time I don't. I just use Photoshop. It does what I have to. It does what I need it to do, and that's it. If you have access to Photoshop, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, I think there's a free one online that you could use. I think it's like, if you Google free online Photoshop, there might be something you could use online. It will give you some basic editing features. However, I go for the paid for version, and I use it all the time for many different things, not just for photo editing, and I absolutely love it because of the tools it has. However, there are other free programs you could use that help you adjust some basic things that need to be adjusted in your photo. What are the basic things that's adjusted in your photo? The basic things that have to be adjusted in your photo are lighting. That's the biggest thing. Okay, take care of lighting situations. Even if you have the really great lighting standards when you take in the photo, you still have to adjust some things in there. Saturation may be something you have to adjust. Doesn't mean you have to adjust it. And maybe shadows, highlights, contrast. Now, everything I just mentioned, a lot of these free programs actually help you with. Why do I go the Photoshop route? I use it for many different other things, the actual reasons why Photoshop is invented. And it's a program that I've always had. It's just, it's what I do. It's in my industry. Okay? But if you're like, Jaya, I'm kind of bootstrapping things right now, don't feel like planning on paying for Photoshop, is that cool with you? Absolutely. Go online. I think PicMonkey allows you to do some free things. You can even just Google free photo editing programs. I'm sure you'll see a few, test out a few, see which ones you prefer. Now, no matter which one you use, you have to learn how to use it. Not just, oh, this is where you adjust the brightness and contrast, and this is where you adjust the shadows and highlights. No, I could tell you where things are. It's how to use it properly, right? To make sure your photo looks the most attractive it can be. Because what if you adjust lighting and it's still too dim? Some people's whites aren't that white, and that looks really like unprofessional and amateur. Or some people's, saturation is too saturated. It's like, what's going on there? Does that make sense? So learn how to use it. How? YouTube, guys. It's the simplest answer. Here I am giving you the advice, right? All you have to do now in these steps, like, decide what type of white background versus style, which I'm going to give you some tips in a minute. But after those tips, and you determine which one you should be using, determine which camera you're going to use, learn how to use that camera correctly, determine which lighting equipment you're going to use, okay? Learn how to use that effectively, like I've been mentioning. Best photo editing programs to use, and learn how to use it effectively. It's up to you to go say, okay, now I know which ones to use, let me go ahead and learn it. How to learn it, I'm not just telling you figure it out on your own. I'm telling you, go to YouTube. They have the answers there. I'm telling you 100%. If I had to learn something on Photoshop, I don't know how to do, which is rare, because I don't have to use it for other things, because that's what I usually do. But just in case, I go to YouTube and I figure it out. Done. I move on. Now, me telling you the answer can obviously help you make it go quicker, but it's going to require training, and it's too much. It's too much on my plate. It's going to be costly for you. You don't want that. Go for free. Go to YouTube and learn how to use it. Yes, it might take you a little bit longer. If you are regularly always uploading photos, because you have new products coming out all the time and you're always taking photos, etc., then maybe a training you could purchase. I don't have one, obviously, but it may help you to give you shortcuts. Otherwise, it's not worth the investment. You need to just go learn it on your own. If you step away from this and you don't have good photos and you don't follow these in order, that is your own fault. Let's just be honest, okay? That is your own fault for not following it in order and learning how to use each one effectively. And you're always more than welcome to utilize this group, show people your before and after photos, or say, hey, be brutally honest. What do you think of this photo? What's wrong with it, etc. The last tip will help you if you're unaware of how you should set up your photo. Some people might leave with this and say, okay, I got it. I'll learn how to use my camera. I'll learn how to do this. I'll learn it using YouTube, whatever. But you're like, I still don't know how my photos should look. Okay? Got it. Well, I'll cover you. Okay, 3 of my best tips. 1, to make sure you have great photos, even with all the tips I gave you above. Lighting. Okay? A lot of times I find that lighting are the biggest problems for sellers online. Lighting can make you look unprofessional if you have done it wrong. That's the biggest thing I see with lighting. It just immediately screams unprofessional. I have been searching through Etsy for a few things I'm trying to shop for, and I've passed on people who the photos don't impress me. I just feel they're unprofessional, which means, in my opinion, you could just roll your eyes at me all you want, but I feel that then their products won't match the professionalism. Like, it won't be as professional as I want it to be, depending on actually what I'm buying. Lighting is very important for many different reasons. You obviously know the biggest one is to make sure you look more professional, make sure your product's well lit. is something that I really, really want you to work on. So it being one of my 3 best tips, meaning take the advice I gave you about lighting equipment to use and really go after it. This, depending on your schedule, if you have a lot of free time, it might take you a few days consecutively, like all day, whatever, a few days, to work on figuring out your lighting situation, along with using a photo editing program and learning how to use it for lighting, okay? If you put those 2 together and figure out how to make your lighting really great, you've covered one of my best tips for taking great photos, because you don't want to leave here today saying, I'm still going to go ahead and take crappy photos like I always do. You have to strive for it, okay? I mean, it's not as simple as joining this Facebook Live and me taking the photos for you. It's just not going to work that way. You guys know that. Do the hard work, do the due diligence, and figure out how to do it and actually test through it. When I had to take photos myself a long time ago practicing, it would take me like, hours, days, and then to get it right now, I know how to I have my own style, I know how to get it right. You have to put in those hours to make sure you have your method down, okay? Second tip, really important, another thing I see a lot of sellers do wrong. This is actually a big one, because more than likely I see this as a problem. If they have bad lighting, they actually have this as well being bad. It's composition, okay? The composition I'm explaining to you in Dahlia terms is the way you position your items in the photo and the way you crop your photo, okay? You've heard of the rule of thirds, maybe. It makes things more attractive. If you have these 2 envelopes, and for some reason you're selling envelopes, I don't know why, it'll be more interesting to put it maybe like this, staggered. Hold on, I'm trying to flatten it for the camera, okay? As opposed to like this, where it looks like it got thrown on the table and nobody touched it. Okay, sometimes I see that people's placement and the way that they angle the picture and they take the photo, it looks like a child took it. Okay, that's okay. It's okay. Just you have to be aware of it. And realize that highly styled photos are not just everything else I mentioned, backgrounds, whatever. It's the way, the angle you take the photo, as well as the position you put your products in. Everything has to be carefully placed. When my photographer did my photos, I told her that I needed, like, I'm trying to place this correctly. Okay, I can't do it correctly because I'm like doing it backwards, but I wanted it like this. This straight, this off to an angle. Okay, I wanted the color in the back. It wasn't just placed like haphazardly, which I find a lot of photos are like that. Placing things purposefully is really important, and the angle in which you take it. I used to take my photos directly above, and the camera I was using at the time was making my pictures look warped. And eventually, I don't have it right now on my DSLR, but I'll show you what I mean. You can have an attachment on your DSLR that looks like this. You see this? It's like bubble level. Okay, and now make sure that everything that you take a picture of on this camera thing is perfectly leveled. If you're out there saying, Dahlia, I get you. I want to take better photos when it comes to composition and cropped and all this stuff and angles, but I don't know how. I don't know how to position things. Or you might say, I don't know what's considered an attractively compositioned photo, because you just don't have the eye for that. Here's what I recommend you do, and this is going to go into my 3rd tip. Okay, because my 3rd tip is backgrounds and props will really help make the photo stylized, making it in context. But again, you might say, Dad, I don't know which background and props to use. Even after today's, advice, white background versus styled, I don't know what I should use. Or if I do want to use styled, I don't know what should be in it. What you're going to do: make a private board on Pinterest, secret board. Okay. After you make a secret board, call it photo ideas. Then search and scour the web. Go on Pinterest itself. You could go on Etsy. You could go on anywhere there's product photos. You could go to your competitor. You could go to your big box competitor. Wherever you find photos of products that are similar to yours. Jewelry, go to a jewelry person, etc. Find several brands, shops, that have a photo that's highly attractive, okay, in your eyes, and that you're like, I wish my photos look like that 100%. You're going to start pinning it to the secret board everywhere. For example, I sell stationery. I would go to tinyprints.com, I would go to minted.com, and I would go to Shutterfly. I would go to several different big box competitors, and I'd probably go to smaller competitors on Etsy, on Amazon, etc. Find their photos, find their items, pin the ones that speak to you for something, even if it's a small detail in there. The way they position things, or their branding look, or whatever that makes sense for your branding, whatever. Pin them. Now that you have this board, you want to look for things like lighting. You want to look for things like composition. You want to look for things like background and props. Make sure you pin photos that help you with all 3, that give you ideas for all 3, because you might have quite a bit of photos in this Pinterest account. Now what do? You could articulate what you want your photos to look like. If it was me and I saw photos of stationery I'm taking a picture up above. I'm like, yes, that's what I want. I want my stationery to lay in a flat background. I'll take a picture from up above, okay? Because I find that those are the most attractive for stationery. I also found that people use props. After I did this exercise, I'm just giving you an example. What kind of epiphany you're gonna have after this. You're gonna find that people use props in stationery that are pen related, paper clips. I mean, all attractive type of stuff. Not this stapler, not this one. I purposely buy special pens for these pictures because I'm not putting this pen in there. It's too bulky. It's not sleek. It's not like my branding. Okay, so doing that can help you determine what you want your photos to look like, and then of course you can make your own. I'm not telling you to copy them. That you don't want to do that. That's silly, right? But you also have to understand how you should take your photos, what angles, and how to stylize your photos, what you should be including, what type of backgrounds you are drawn to for you and your brand. Keeping this board will help you understand. So for Karen, she's like, I have these, white candles and I take white backgrounds, it doesn't work. Well, what I want Karen to do is go find other candle makers and see how, look around, do this project in a matter of a couple days, with an hour or two a day, okay? And then start pinning and then seeing which ones successfully have an attractive photo, really attractive, maybe a highly successful brand, and say, okay, they did a white background, or they have white candles. What are they doing for backgrounds? Okay, that really makes sense. And then over time, Karen will be like, you know what? The reason why my white background didn't work is because my white wasn't really white. Or what is the difference? They might have put, imagine this is the candle, okay? And this is white candle. They may have put a branding sticker on it that it won't matter if the candle is white. The branding sticker is colorful and pops on the white background. So you have to see what has worked for them to see if it works for you. That might lead Karen to say, you know what? Yes, my packaging doesn't stand out. I got to redo it. And this is just an example, okay? And for others who say, okay, I need some ideas of how it should look, go ahead and say, okay, let me scour the web for competitors and whatever, and within your reel. We're not looking to copy them. We're looking to understand what attracts your eye, what makes an attractive photo. And then after you pin them, you could break these photos apart and say, okay, let's look at why I like this for composition. They always take the picture at this angle or up above or whatever. Or it's perfectly straight on. For background props, this is what they use. This is what several of my competitors use, which I absolutely am attracted to. When you do something like this, see what I'm saying? You start to come to conclusions where you understand what your style should be for your branding and what it should be to make an attractive photo. Because remember, when you're looking the web, you're looking for ones that really attract you. And maybe that get featured in blogs that are very, very popular or things of that sort. Photoshop. I use Photo Diffuse to whiten the background along with GIMP and Inkscape. If it works for you, Karen, it works. That's okay. That's absolutely okay. Karen's like, yes, I used another program. If I need advice, how does this photo look? Please, please, please post your before and afters in the group. You're always more than welcome, not just today, to do that, okay? To show us, hey, what do you think? And always ask people to be brutally honest. And here's why. Because you don't want people to not say anything just in case your photo does suck still. You don't have to be quiet because you're looking for feedback. So by telling people, hey, I'm giving you a free pass to be brutally honest or constructively honest, then that makes people feel like, okay, I can be honest with Karen or anybody else. Deb, the Lightroom phone app is a powerhouse. Awesome. I didn't know that. Actually, I did hear that it has an app, but I never used it. I still use my Photoshop on my computer, but if I'm on the road or otherwise away from the computer, Lightroom has a great job. Wow, that's amazing. I might have to check that out. You can download Photoshop Express on a phone or iPad, and it's great for editing photos. You don't need the full version of Photoshop. Photoshop Elements is much cheaper and it can be more affordable and just has a little bit less features, but still be fine for what you need it for. On Photoshop, you could cut your image out from the background and get white background. Yes, however, I might advise against that, Trina. If you do that, you lose shadows. You lose it looking natural. So I'd rather people not do that unless you are super professional at using Photoshop, because then you could insert your own shadows and things like that. Otherwise, which is most of us are not super professional for Photoshop to do that. I'm just taking a guess here. Don't do that. Start with the white background and then edit that white background on Photoshop or what other program you have, okay? Somebody else mentioned GIMP, okay, which I believe is for free. I don't know about Inkscape, but I'm assuming it's for free. You can use that as well. We talked about several different things. Like if you're not happy with your photos and you're like, okay, I'm not happy with my photos, what are my next steps? Here they are. Do the Pinterest exercise first. The thing I mentioned last, do it first. To figure out your style, what you want it to look like, what's the right way a photo should look like, meaning the most attractive, composition, background, props, all that good stuff, okay? Do that first. Next, find out what camera you have. Learn how to use it appropriately. Best lighting equipment, go outside. Use some whiteboard, which is really cheap. Go to a 99-cent store or an office supply store, get some whiteboard. Okay, order on Amazon Prime. It'll be at your house in no time, okay? Now you start to get things rolling. Make sure you have a good photo editing program on your side that helps you adjust lighting, okay? Shadows, highlights, contrast, and saturation. And of course, you could crop the photo as well. You might have to need to crop the photo. Because you have done the exercise first, the Pinterest exercise, you will understand how you need your photos. So if you find that you're laying your item like this, and you take the photo at an angle like this on the side, it's not quite right, adjust the angle a little bit so you find your sweet spot, okay? Because angles really matter. I mean, it is. If you are taking pictures of things that are flat or certain things, you might need a bubble level to help make sure that you do it exactly the right way. So the bubble level, but you can put it on your DSLR, you can put it on this, and what you could do is when you start to like take pictures, you can make sure your bubble level is always in a certain way, so you can always go back to that angle to make sure you take the same repeated photos over and over again. Okay? Another thing I suggest, by the way, side tip, if you have the ability to plan on your product, you could take your own stock photos. Okay? That's what I do. I take pictures of my items like this, I forgot how, okay? And I superimpose my design on here. Okay, and I have several different stock photos, so I can change up the envelope color, the background props, etc. It looks like a new photo every time. And that saves me time from taking photos in the future. You may not have that luxury because of the type of product you have. Like for example, if you have jewelry, yeah, you can't take your own stock photos because you need to take a new picture every time. But if you have a product that allows you to take the design you designed and put it on that item, t-shirts, mugs, stationery, whatever, take your own stock photos. I highly recommend that as opposed to buying stock photos. I mean, I don't hate buying stock photos, but there's certain platforms that won't allow you to. They want to make sure that they see the actual product that they're getting. So doing your own stock photos can show people exactly what they're getting in mind, because I use a true color, envelope color, the right size paper, etc. So I'm going to wrap this up by saying this. I linked a couple blog posts. One is 3 tips to a better photo, which is I discussed toward the end of this Facebook Live, which has several links for you if you want to find out photo editing program I use and all that good jazz, right? Good. And then the second one is 5 ideas for your additional product photos. You know how you have a product photo in the beginning? You have to have other photos to kind of show customers different angles, different details, etc. Really check that blog post out, guys. To figure out how to master taking a really great photo, you have to make sure you take several different ones depending on your product type, because these photos answer questions for people. By having the right one, the right few, is important. So check out that blog post. So Phyllis says she takes it on whiteboard, but the white comes out blue. Why is that? Well, depending on the camera you take the picture on, your white balance is not appropriately adjusted. So if you have a fancy camera, then adjust your white balance. If you don't know how, you Google how to adjust your white balance on the camera you have. Now, if you're using it on your iPhone or whatever, I highly recommend then taking that photo, the bluish type of photo, taking it to an editing program and adjusting. I actually forgot to mention that in the lighting situation when we talked about lighting and the 3 helpful tips, that sometimes people's photos are yellowish or bluish. And learning how to use a photo editing program to help adjust the tint or the white balance is ideal. You can check on YouTube how to adjust white balance on Photoshop, and you'll find it really easily. If you don't have Photoshop, how to adjust white balance on XYZ program, and you should find it easily, okay? That's why it does it, because the white balance is off. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed today's Facebook Live. I am going to probably post sometime this week to ask for additional ideas on Facebook topics. I know you've been enjoying the last few, but I want to make sure that I'm continuing to talk about topics you're really, really interested in, okay? That could help grow your business. The last one we talked about Etsy promoted listings and Amazon, so we went over steps to do it. People absolutely loved it. Hope you love this one. I want to continue doing that for you. So if you are on Twitter, make sure you follow me. Hit all notifications. You can tweet me anytime you want and let me know your ideas. I'll be posting later on in this group to get more additional ideas from you guys. Okay, because last time I posted, it went really well and people gave me a whole bunch of ideas. I'm pretty much running out. All right, guys, have a fantastic day and I'll see you next week. All right, bye.